Gameloft continued to reference the parks with their updates to Disney Dreamlight Valley, and the Tales of Agrabah update is no different. This time they brought in EPCOT to the realm for Aladdin and Jasmine. So let's take a look at the trailer again, break it down, and see if we can spot what pieces they might have drawn inspiration from and where in the parks they might have got these ideas.
Reunite with two iconic Disney characters, Aladdin and Jasmine, and work together to solve what's causing these chaotic sandstorms in Agrabah.
If you've been following me for a while, you'll know that I'm a parks guy through and through. I absolutely love the Disney parks. So do Disney, because they're one of their highest grossing and highest earning moneymakers. So it's no surprise that we do see some of the parks elements come in to Disney Dreamlight Valley. I think that there's probably some sort of license deal that goes on with Gameloft and Disney that allow them to access those sorts of inspirations and bring those pieces into the game. It's one of my favorite things. This got pointed out to me last night on my stream. So obviously while we were streaming, a bunch more information came out about the update, including like a full length trailer. I am going to go through and break that down. I did break it down on stream, but I'm going to do a video breaking that down as well, just taking a look at the details, seeing what we can find, if there are any other references in there. But Bonnie, lovely Bonnie, the community member, kind of let me know on stream that when she was at EPCOT, she spotted that the Morocco Pavilion looked incredibly similar to what we were seeing in the trailer for the Aladdin update and the Aladdin Realm. Bonnie wasn't actually sure how to share her own pictures with me on stream, so she did end up emailing me them, which was amazing. Thank you, Bonnie. You sent me some lovely photographs. It helped me kind of take a look at the Morocco Pavilion and see what sort of references were there for Gameloft. And it does look like they've included that central pavilion inside the Aladdin Realm, because this is where they do meet and greets for Aladdin at EPCOT. So it seems as though they've brought like the two pieces together. They've referenced some of the movie, but they've also referenced some of the parks and kind of merged the two, which I love. I think that's a great idea. The realm does look huge. So we're going to take a look at some screenshots, break it down, see what goes where and whether there was some inspiration drawn or whether they came up with something new for themselves. Okay, so I've kind of got this one paused because this was an interesting screenshot to me. Now, I do think that the Aladdin Realm is going to be really big. It seems like it's got multiple levels in height and verticality, but also in size. So I do think that there seems to be a market section, which we're seeing here. I think there's a pavilion section, and then I think there's an area that might go towards Agrabah Palace. I can't make it all out from what we have because we don't have a better view at the map just yet, but I do think that's the case. So this is the market section. And we can see here, the thing I wanted to pick out was this tower. So there's a slight kind of like tower here behind the dust storm or behind the sandstorm, whatever they might be calling it. Now, I find it interesting because this is slightly further back. We can see that all of this sort of stuff is in the foreground, this sort of like market setup. And these are from the Frosted Heights. They're just recolored kind of like ice shards from the Frosted Heights. But yeah, this back here, this tower, I was wondering whether this could be a reference to art because I know that the pavilion itself is. So when we take a look at this side by side with an image from Blog Mickey, amazing blog, by the way. If we take a look at that, we can see that there is a tower in the EPCOT Morocco Pavilion that does kind of reach up to that height. Now, I know we can't see much detail on this one on the left. However, it wouldn't surprise me if the pavilion that we do see in Aladdin's Realm, which is actually this, does feature this tower, and we're just seeing it a little further away because it's actually in that like sort of central square. Now, I do think that the actual buildings on the outside of that sort of like central square are kind of Gameloft originals. They've just taken some inspiration from the movie and from EPCOT in general. Very pretty. I do love the design of it. I love the little market stall. I love all of the walls. I love kind of like the way that the brickwork is creeping through underneath the render. And of course, these kind of like Persian style roofs that we see. But that was the first thing I spotted when I took a closer look. So let's take a look at the next one and we'll see if that gives any more light on what sort of inspo they've used. So as you can see here, I know I'm a little bit in the way with my camera, but they've basically lifted this renovated Morocco Pavilion fountain and then the trees in the background almost directly. They've used pretty much exactly the same tile work on this renovated fountain. Now, I do know that the Morocco Pavilion had an update that completed in July 2024. Unfortunately, I don't think it went down all that well because they did remove some artisan tiles from this fountain and from the trees that actually really added a nice Moroccan element to this pavilion. Now, I know this video is not on EPCOT and I know it's not specifically on the pavilion, but there was a little bit of disappointment in the community, I think, because some people were saying that these sort of look like bathroom tiles in a way because they were sort of really ornate tiles previously. And I know that they ripped out the trees to replace them with palm trees. So there was a couple of updates, but I find it interesting the reason I bring that up is because that is a pretty recent update to the park for Gameloft to kind of pull from. So I wonder when they actually started developing this Aladdin Realm. I mean, from the size of it, it does look like it's going to be pretty big. So I don't know, would 6 months be enough? Were they doing something else? Did they bring in a different style? I don't know, because maybe they got advanced warning of what the pavilion was going to look like, the updates to the fountain, trees, all that sort of thing. So I don't know, I find the timing interesting. Maybe 6 months is more than enough for them to make this section, but I'm assuming there's some sort of like licensing agreement or something with Disney to be able to use the parks elements as well, because it is Disney IP. I just find the timing very interesting, but it's clear that this is a direct reference. It's almost identical. The fountain is near identical. I don't know if it'll ever turn on, but from the way it looks as a reference, I think it looks fantastic. Whether you like the new tiles or not, that's up to you. I don't know about that one. I'm not sure myself, but I think it looks good from what they've done at this point. We can see kind of like a wider shot from this screenshot in the trailer, which gives you a sense of everything in one place. Now, what I do find really nice is that this is going to be some sort of big courtyard, which I really like. Again, there's an exit out here leading to somewhere. I can't tell if that's the top of the Sultan's Palace from this screenshot, but then we know as this goes on, this is when we meet Aladdin and Jasmine over on this side, which also has an exit. So in terms of the size of the realm, it's going to be large. We thought that Mulan was really big, but I think that this might be even bigger. This is where it does start to differ a little bit. So even though Gameloft have kind of used the same concept, they've definitely replicated the fountain. They've taken a slightly different approach with the trees, which I find interesting. So these trees from the actual image, of course, from Blog Mickey, are new. These palm trees, I believe they were citrus trees previously. They were much wider, they had a much bigger canopy on them, but these kind of like tiles around the bottom match the tiles from here on the fountain. In the Gameloft render, they are very different. This kind of definitely feels a little bit more stylized, like a little bit more Moroccan. I'm not familiar with Moroccan tile work, so you'll have to forgive me. But you know, I can see what people are saying when they say that this feels like kind of like a bathroom from the parks. But it's interesting that this is different inside the realm. So I wonder if the fountain in the middle was originally slightly different and they kind of adapted it when it got launched back in July last year. And this was the texture that we saw on the fountain prior to that, because that does seem to match kind of like the rest of the realm. However, the rest of the realm, or the rest of this courtyard pavilion at the very least, is definitely inspired by EPCOT. But I just find it interesting that they've kind of used these, they're almost flower beds, I suppose, even though they've got trees in them. But this is where it differs, considering the fountain was the same. This is actually Bonnie's picture, who emailed me a couple of these. Lovely pictures, by the way, Bonnie, I have said. But Bonnie emailed me these and was the one who brought this to my attention on chat, on stream. The one thing that I did want to pick up from this, so the screenshot on this side is actually where we kind of like finished that pan of the camera. I know that I'm doing static screenshots, but I wanted to make sure there was not too much movement going on. But you'll see here, the one thing that I did find interesting, all the way at the top up here, this little bit is quite clearly a reference to the pattern that we see on the archways in EPCOT in that Morocco pavilion. It might not be identical to these, because this is probably quite hard to pull off, but it does seem as though Gameloft have made a little bit of an effort here to try and do that. And we do get another little glimpse at that at the very start of this scene before the camera pans. So I'm definitely going to say that this is another reference. I'm definitely going to say that they've made an attempt to kind of like bring as much of this pavilion in as they can, which, like I said at the top of the video, this is where the meet and greets are for Jasmine and Aladdin in EPCOT. So it makes total sense that they might want to bring in some of those parks elements. And as I said, I'm a parks guy. I love this kind of detail. It just makes me happy. Another thing that is probably a little bit difficult because of the intricacies of the light fixtures is that Gameloft have made an effort again to bring in some of those stylized light fixtures. So you can see this is one from actual EPCOT. This is one of kind of like the hanging lights that are in the middle of the entryway. And then over here, they have done sort of like their own version with a blue glow, which I really like. It's not as detailed, but it definitely has a level of detail and is obviously a reference to that. And the Morocco Pavilion does have some of these kind of like wall hanging ones as well, which is really nice. So those little details are just something that I really enjoy, and I wanted to sort of like share them with you. Thank you again, Bonnie, for bringing it to my attention. Because all of that information came out while I was streaming last night, it was hard for me to like kind of do a deep dive because I went to bed after stream. So this morning I was like, let me jump on, let me take a look, see if I can find any more references. And it does seem as though that is the case. There's also this little section where we've obviously come up some sort of steps or stairway. Now, I'm not entirely sure where this is in the realm map, Again, we don't know the size of the realm or anything yet, but I'm quite excited because it's nice to have some verticality and some different levels. Now, these are dotted about in EPCOT. I couldn't find a great picture of them, but they are kind of like traditional sort of like Persian Arabian style window boxes, I think. And then obviously we do see some carpets on the bottom at the top of these stairs. Now, the one thing that I did find kind of like as my only reference is that EPCOT do weddings. So you can actually get married in the Morocco Pavilion. I think you can get married in some of the other pavilions as well. But in the Morocco Pavilion, they will lay out sort of like seating and they will put rugs on the floor just like this, sort of like in this not straight, not typical straight sort of like style, sort of like a little bit wonky, just laid out, which I thought was really nice. I don't think that's probably a reference to that. Maybe that's a cultural reference instead of like a specific parks reference. But that was what I found for it. I wanted to share it just in case, you know, maybe this is a little hidden detail that we uncovered. Who knows? Finally, just to clear it up, because on stream I wasn't 100% sure if Agrabah Palace we saw in the realm was identical to the one from Eternity Isle. I had a strong feeling that it would be. They're not going to remake it or restyle it because it was film accurate. So this is just to confirm that it is. So this was the one from the realm on the left, and this is the one they used in Eternity Isle on the right. Now, I know that some people are disappointed that we did not get the full palace, or at least like another scaled down version of the palace for Aladdin and Jasmine's home, but I think they did pretty well with the tower that they chose. I do think that it's kind of like an interesting situation for them because obviously Agrabah Palace is a central part of the DLC. Now they've kind of got it in a realm as well. It's not a story issue or anything like that, and it just kind of lets people who maybe don't have the DLC still enjoy that aspect as well without having to purchase the DLC or have it sort of locked to an expansion pass. All right, gang, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. It was kind of a deep dive, but not really a deep dive. You know, we've got limited information to go off, but I did enjoy taking a look at this, finding those little references. EPCOT is one of my favorite places. It's one of my favorite Disney parks and experiences in general. I just think it's a kind of like a wonderful park. So it's really nice to see Gameloft reach out and bring some of those references and some of those elements into the game, even if it's just for parks nerds like myself. As I said earlier, there's a lot of information that's come out. I don't know if all of it is meant to be out just yet, but we'll have to wait and see. I am going to do a deep dive on it because we did get the full release video, so it included premium shop, it included star path breakdowns, all of that sort of thing. So I will do a slightly deeper dive. I'm currently researching whether those wicker chairs come from anywhere else. I'm going to find out. If they are a reference, I'm going to try and find out. Let me know down in the comments if you enjoy this little comparison. Let me know if you love EPCOT as much as me and you're happy to see it come to the game, or maybe you're not that keen on the realm and you were hoping to see something else. I hope not, because I think it looks fantastic. So fingers crossed that everybody enjoys it. I'm very excited for the update. Cannot wait to get my teeth into it, and I'm sure that you can't as well. With that being said, I'm going to leave it there for today. I will, of course, catch you in the next one, and I will see you in the valley. Bye, everyone.